radical Islamic terrorism came into effect even more so than it has been in the past. People like what I say, people respect what I say, and we've opened up a very big discussion that needed to be opened up.
I would seek out, as I have, the best advice that exists. I won't get my information from the shows. I don't know if that's Saturday morning or Sunday morning. I don't know which one.
One of the things I would immediately do, in addition to defeating them here at home, is bring back the warrior class. Petraeus, McChrystal, Mattis, Keene, Flynn. Every single one of these generals I know, every one was retired early because they told President Obama things that he didn't want to hear.
That was an interesting moment. The fight against terrorism taking center stage last night, of course, given what's going on in the world. So who had the best strategy? Let's bring in KT McFarland, Fox News national security analyst and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense in the Reagan administration. KT, welcome. I know you were combing over every word that they said last night. You know, let's start with a couple of the things that we just heard there. And I want to start with Carly Fiorina, who made a very interesting point at the end about the kind of people that she would bring in if she were president.
Yeah, she's absolutely right. What happened is President Obama has basically gotten rid of all the military leaders that disagreed with him and all the guys who told him the truth. And Carly's absolutely right. People like Jim Mattis, General Jay Garner, others who have been at the forefront of saying, look, this is all going to go very badly unless you do A, B, and C. Obama didn't want to hear it, got rid of them. So it'd be good to have those people back.
You know, it's interesting, though, that the one person who stood out as someone who would not want boots on the ground, because that's where that's going. I mean,
yes.
That conversation, you bring those people back in, you've got a surge, you know, sort of plan.
Well, actually, not really. Some of those generals do not want to have a military surge. They don't think it would work in the end, but they think that other things should happen.
All right. So, but it's an active and much more involved and more boots on the ground, whether they're special forces in conjunction with airstrikes. So be it. Ted Cruz basically was saying, no, you know, we've toppled governments in the Middle East. We've seen how that turns out. He was speaking from a, you know, sort of a bit more isolationist viewpoint, no?
Here's the thing. The Republican Party, since really World War II, has had two big wings. They've had, on one hand, it's the neo-isolationist wing, and that's Rand Paul. And he articulated that pretty well last night. At the other end, you have the neocon Bush 43, the interventionists. And that's Lindsey Graham. That's to a certain extent, that's Chris Christie. That's to a certain extent Marco Rubio. And then in the middle are the Reagan peace through strength. And that's really Trump. That's Cruz. That's the people who say, look, if we go to war to win. But we have other weapons to use besides just putting boots on the ground. We have economic weapons, ideological weapons, and we should use those as well.
How did you think Trump did? Because some of his critics say that, you know, debate after debate, he sort of comes to the table with the same lines, and he repeats them over and over again. He'll build a wall, he'll make America great again, he'll make us strong, and not a lot underneath.
You know, this time was a little different. I mean, I looked at them all and I say, you guys, you've all grown in this. You've all gotten much better at this. Some of you started out knowing what you were doing, but you're all getting there. You're all passing what I would call the commander-in-chief test. Some, like Jeb Bush, he's still the Bush interventionist. Well, he's not going to change. But Trump, Ben Carson, they put a little more meat on those bones, and I was happy to hear that.
All right. So what about, you know, when it came to ISIS, and who do you think is the person who could best handle this, and what do you think is going to speak to the American people? Because in the end, they're going to have to sign on to a pretty big program with one of these guys on the Republican side.
Yeah, I think it's really two issues. One is Homeland Security and who's going to protect us at home, and the other is ISIS. Who is going to defeat ISIS in the Middle East? Do you need to defeat ISIS in the Middle East to protect us at home? What I have yet to see is any of them saying, like Reagan did, I've got a bigger plan. It's not just the tactics of troops in the Middle East. It's what is the overall plan? How are we going to beat them economically, ideologically? Because we could destroy the Islamic State like we destroyed bin Laden. And the ideology lives on. So I need a bigger picture.
All right. We'll wait.
But you know the best part of all?
Yeah.
CNN. Because at the very beginning, everybody put their hand on their heart, pledged allegiance to the flag. And at the end, well, let's wish everybody Merry Christmas. So guess what? Political correctness is dead, and
the war against Christmas is over. Dead. Put a nail in it from last night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We won. We won.
Exactly. Merry Christmas, Bill.
Right on. Merry Christmas. Senator